For the second consecutive day, Russia continues unabated attacks on Ukraine. Reports coming in of more strikes in multiple cities and videos emerging of massive destruction. In the latest, Ukraine is reporting clashes in northern district of its capital, Kyiv. In the last 24 hours, Russia has carried out a series of missile strikes, mainly on key government and military installations, quickly followed by a three-pronged ground assault. Thousands of Ukrainians have fled the country. More than 130 people have been killed so far. Meanwhile, in an address to his nation, Ukrainian president said he believes he is currently Russia's #1 target, but has no intention of fleeing the country. He has also said that the world has left Ukraine to fight on their own, and the West should do more than just place economic sanctions on Russia. So we're seeing Russia continue with its unabated advancement in war-torn Ukraine. So far, 130 people have already lost their lives and thousands are fleeing their country. Of course, we have seen several Indians also over there, at least 20,000 Indians, including students who are still stranded in Ukraine, and their families back home are still awaiting updates. The Indian embassy has given out several advisories asking people in Ukraine, the students in Ukraine, to go to nearby bunkers and bomb shelters. Several citizens in Ukraine themselves are currently sheltered in bunkers, protecting themselves from the unabated explosions in the city.
We're getting reports of casualties in the city of Gorlovka over the last 24 hours. At least two civilians had been killed, and at least 12, that's the latest figure, 12 people had been heavily wounded. Also, fighting is continuing on the outskirts of Donetsk as well, where civilian infrastructure was damaged. And at the moment, well, thousands of people are without access to water and electricity, and they're forced to hide in bomb shelters.
Russia's defense ministry is saying that Donetsk has actually seized some ground from Ukrainian forces. What advances are being made? What do you know?
Well, according to Russian Defense Ministry, Donetsk People's militia have advanced at least 6 to 8 kilometers into their territory, formerly occupied by Ukraine. Their task is to liberate the entire Donetsk region and to restore liberty in all places. Now, heavy fighting is continuing in the south of the Donetsk People's Republic near Mariupol, and the representative of the People's Militia, Edward Basurin, says that that city is encircled by the Azov battalion, known for their neo-Nazi affiliations, and this battalion is preventing civilians of Mariupol from evacuating, and thus creating, well, a living human shield out of the residents. Now, some Ukrainian soldiers, according to People's Militia, are surrendering and laying down arms, and that's, of course, in line with what Vladimir Putin and local administration has called on the Ukrainian soldiers to lay down their arms, to surrender, as they've been promised free passage back home and, of course, amnesty, complete amnesty.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday announced a new round of sanctions targeting Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. He said that he chose war and that his country will bear the consequences of his action. The sanctions target Russian banks, and Biden added that he has no plans to talk to Putin.
We've now sanctioned Russian banks that together hold around $1 trillion in assets. We've cut off Russia's largest bank, a bank that holds more than 1/3 of Russia's banking assets by itself, cut it off from the U.S. financial system. And today, we're also blocking 4 more major banks. That means every asset they have in America will be frozen. This includes VTB, the second largest bank in Russia, which has $250 billion in assets.
Now, as the war between Russia and Ukraine is underway, US, UK, Canada and Australia have imposed fresh sanctions on Russia. UK has frozen all assets of major Russian banks in the country. Australia has imposed sanctions against Russia as well, targeting several of its elite citizens and lawmakers. Also, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison has criticized China for easing restrictions on trade with Russia. While relief for some Indian students who managed to take the last flight back home from Ukraine on the 23rd of February, but many are still stuck in Ukraine, awaiting arrangements to be brought back home. Times Network spoke to some of these students. Listen in.
हम अपनी इंडियन गवर्नमेंट से, इंडियन एम्बेसी से बस ये रिक्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं कि जल्दी से जल्दी हमारा यहाँ से इवैक्यूएशन प्लान करें, हमें अपनी कंट्री पे, हमें अपने घर पे सेफली हम चले जाएं। हम ये रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं इंडियन गवर्नमेंट से। हमारी फ्रेंड्स की, हमारे दोस्तों की जितनी भी सब फ्लाइट्स थी सब कैंसिल हो गई अभी इंडिया आने की। तो बस हम यही चाहते हैं कि वो सब लोग सेफ रहें, सेफली अपने घर पहुंच जाएं और हम भी इस कंट्री से निकल के अपनी कंट्री में और अपने देश में वापस सेफली चले जाएं।
मेरा नाम यावर हमीद भट्ट है। मैं कश्मीर से हूँ और मैं हंदवारा से बिलोंग करता हूँ। मैं यहाँ यूक्रेन में MBBS की पढ़ाई कर रहा हूँ और मैं अभी 6th कोर्स में हूँ। तो जैसा कि आपको पता है कि यूक्रेन और रशिया के बीच में वॉर चल रहा है और यहाँ पे सुबह के 5 बजे हमने थोड़ी सुबह आवाजें सुनी, जैसे कि आप यहाँ पे खारकीव, कीव और ओडेसा की 3 जगहों पे सुबह बॉम्ब्स गिराए गए और सिचुएशन अभी थोड़ी सी ठीक नहीं है। अभी लोग सेफ जगहों पे जा रहे हैं। सिचुएशन थोड़ी पैनिक हो रही है। अभी सामान लेने जा रहे हैं लोग। यहाँ पे हम यूक्रेन में 200 बच्चे, अराउंड 180 to 200 बच्चे कश्मीरी बच्चे हैं।
Meanwhile, few parents of students stranded in Ukraine complained that the helpline number was not working. They claimed that they have been trying to contact the Indian embassy in Ukraine, but all in vain. Listen in.
भी बात किए हैं, वहाँ का माहौल स्थिति बहुत गंभीर है और बहुत डरा हुआ है। फ्लैट से निकलकर रोड पर गाछ के तले सब गुजार रहा है। ये कब फ्लैट, पुराना फ्लैट है, गिर जाए, गिरा दिया जाए तो इससे अच्छा है गाछ के तले रहते। ठंडा में गाछ के तले वो बिना खाए पिए पड़ा हुआ है सब।
While Ukraine's ambassador to India, Igor Polika, has said that situation in Ukraine is getting increasingly serious. Ukraine claims 150 of their nationals were killed and that there were strikes even today.